Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Look, if just hearing the word taxes makes your palms sweat and your heart race, trust me, you are absolutely not alone. Every single year, millions of us get this massive wave of anxiety as spring rolls around. We dread the paperwork, the confusing forms, and honestly, the very real fear of just making a massive mistake with the government. But today, we are going to completely demystify this whole system. We're pulling insights directly from financial experts, the people who have spent decades watching smart, capable folks hopelessly overcomplicate this exact process. They've seen all the common traps, and more importantly, they know the exact shortcuts to bypass them. So, we're taking the anxiety right out of the equation with a clear, structured guide that will show you exactly how to navigate this process with total confidence.
All right, let's dive right into it. Because straight out of the gate, our source material hits us with this powerful, almost rebellious reality check. Doing your own taxes is not that hard. I know it sounds totally crazy to even say that out loud. For years, we've basically been conditioned by these heavy marketing campaigns to believe that filing taxes requires like an advanced degree in finance, a briefcase full of receipts, or maybe a magic wand. But the truth, when you strip away all that intimidating legal jargon, for the vast majority of everyday earners, the actual mechanics of filing are incredibly straightforward. And throughout this explainer, we're going to prove that to you step by step.
So this naturally brings up a pretty big question. If it's really not that hard, why on earth are we paying for pricey accountants? I mean, why do we just automatically default to handing over hundreds of dollars of our hard-earned money to professionals every single year? Well, the answer usually boils down to something experts call the fear tax. We aren't actually paying a premium for some complex financial maneuvering. We're literally just paying for peace of mind. We're terrified of the unknown. We worry that one misplaced decimal point means an automatic audit or a legal battle with the IRS. But you know what? That is simply not how basic tax returns work. We are going to bridge that knowledge gap today, completely eliminate that fear tax, and make sure you keep that money exactly where it belongs, right in your own wallet.
To get us there, we've got a really clear roadmap today. First, we'll look at the big tax myth. Second, decoding employer withholding. Third, the standard deduction explained. And finally, filing your taxes free.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the big tax myth.
Let's separate fact from fiction here by looking at two wildly different financial realities. On one side, you've got the incredibly complex portfolio. If you own, say, dozens of international commercial rental properties, or you've got multiple layers of corporate LLCs, or maybe you manage complex offshore trust funds, then yes, absolutely, you need a pricey accountant. That's a highly specialized scenario. But on the other side, we have basic taxes, and this is where the vast majority of us firmly belong. Now keep in mind, basic doesn't mean you don't have a vibrant financial life. You might have a W-2 from your main job, maybe some side gig income from driving an Uber, student loan interest you're paying off, a high-yield savings account, or maybe you even bought a house. Guess what? All of that is still beautifully basic in the eyes of tax software. Our sources make it crystal clear, unless you have that crazy complex corporate portfolio, you simply do not need to be paying a premium for an accountant. You already have everything you need to do this yourself.
So, now that we know you've absolutely got this, let's move to Section 2, decoding employer withholding. Let's ground this whole concept of employer withholding in some everyday logic. When you hear the word withholding, it honestly sounds like some harsh legal penalty, right? But it's actually just a super helpful, simple math equation happening in the background before your money even hits your bank account. Just imagine if your employer handed you your entire untaxed salary all year long. And then every April, the government asked you to write one massive, terrifying check for thousands of dollars. Most of us wouldn't have saved the money, and it would be an absolute nightmare. So instead, your employer just slices off a tiny bit of your estimated tax bill from every single paycheck and sends it to the IRS for you. It is literally just an automatic prepayment plan. And the secret to controlling this is a form called the W-4. When you start a new job, you fill this out to tell your employer exactly how much to withhold. Think of the W-4 like a volume dial. You can turn it up to have them withhold more, which means a big refund later, or turn it down so you get bigger paychecks right now, but maybe owe a little later. Either way, thanks to withholding, you've basically been paying your taxes on autopilot all year long.
Okay, so you've been paying in automatically all year, but how do we actually figure out what you owed in the first place? That brings us to Section 3, the standard deduction explained. This single concept is a total game changer. The standard deduction is basically the baseline amount that reduces your taxable income. And the philosophy behind it is actually surprisingly generous. The government is acknowledging that, hey, it costs money just to be a human being. You've got baseline living expenses, rent, groceries, basic necessities that you have to pay before you can realistically afford to be taxed.
So think of the standard deduction as a guaranteed no questions asked discount on your income. Let's walk through a really simple example. Let's say your total salary was $50,000 this year. The government does not tax you on all $50,000. Instead, they give you this standard deduction, which is a fixed chunk of money, usually around $15,000 for a single person, and that gets subtracted right off the top of your salary. So $50,000 minus $15,000 leaves $35,000. You are only taxed on that remaining $35,000. It directly shrinks the portion of your income that the IRS can even touch. And honestly, the absolute best part is you don't need to save a million tiny crumpled coffee receipts in a shoebox to claim it. It is an automatic baseline given to you just for filing.
We've successfully translated the foreign language of taxes. You understand your income, you understand withholding, and you know how the standard deduction lowers your burden. Now let's talk about execution in Section 4, filing your taxes free.
$0. Just let that sink in for a second. It's pretty rare in life to get anything for $0, right? Especially when it involves a mandatory government task. But this is the real, actual cost. For the everyday beginner, if you use the correct tools, the price tag to sit down, plug in your basic info, and electronically file your federal return can and absolutely should be $0.
Our sources really highlight using completely free IRS-approved sites like FreeTaxUSA. And look, it is absolutely crucial to separate platforms like this from those heavily marketed commercial tax software companies you see on TV all the time. You know the ones. They promise a free edition, but the second you reveal that your life is slightly outside the absolute bare minimum, like maybe you paid student loan interest or you drove a delivery app car for a few weeks, bam, they trigger a bait and switch. They lock your return and demand $70, $80, or even over $100 just to let you hit submit. That is exactly the trap we're avoiding here. IRS-approved platforms like FreeTaxUSA don't play those games. They are legit, comprehensive platforms designed to guide you through your basic taxes step by step, totally for free. They just ask you simple English questions about your life, they do all the heavy math behind the scenes, they apply that awesome standard deduction we talked about, check it against your employer withholding, and generate the final forms. It's honestly as intuitive as setting up an online shopping profile, and it entirely bypasses the pricey software trap.
Look how far we've come in just a short amount of time. This whole intimidating system really just boils down to 3 simple, highly achievable steps. 1. Understand that employer withholding is just an automatic prepayment plan controlled by your W-4. 2. Grasp that the standard deduction is your automatic no questions asked discount on your taxable income. And 3. Take those concepts and file your return using an honest IRS-approved platform like FreeTaxUSA. When you map it out like this, the anxiety kind of just evaporates, doesn't it? You don't need a finance degree, no shoebox of receipts, and you definitely do not need a pricey accountant for a basic return. So I want to leave you with this one thought to chew on. Are you ready to take control of your taxes? You now have the foundational knowledge, you know how to spot the myths, and you literally have the exact free tools you need to succeed. The power is completely in your hands to keep your hard-earned money and file with total confidence this year. Thanks so much for hanging out with me in this explainer, and hey, happy filing!